Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Bold and Beautiful. Today, Carter finally gets an answer to the proposal he made. At the time, Sheila promises Taylor that nobody will ever come between her and Deacon. The episode starts with Steffi going to the Cliff house. When she gets home, Finn is there. He is not wearing a shirt because he just got out of the water. Steffi tells Finn that Taylor is not doing great, just like she thought. Deacon is with Taylor in her office now. He asks Taylor if she wants more from life than what she has. So we are at the office. There is only one patient that we see. At Illinois Giardino, Sheila talks to Deacon Hope. She wants them to be okay with her being with their dad. She is nice about it. Also a little bit pushy. Then we go to the FC showroom, where Carter tells Daphne that he thinks his proposal to her is an idea and that it feels right to him. Does Daphne really think that? We have to wait and see, because first we have to watch the opening credits. Steffi is talking about what happened with Taylor and Deacon. She says she found out what they were doing at the Cliff house. Steffi thinks that Taylor and Deacon might really like each other. Finn is surprised by this. He does not think Taylor would do something like that. Steffi reminds Finn that Deacon is married to Sheila, who's also his mother. Finn is being very supportive of Steffi. He tells her that Taylor is smart and will not do anything to hurt herself. Finn is always there for Steffi. She knows she can count on him. Steffi's rock is also a sweet guy. He was thinking about planning a night with his wife for when she gets back home. Sheila really wants Hope and Deke to like her when they are at Illinois Giardino. Sheila tells Deke Hope how she feels. As you can see below, they do not seem to care. When the kids get a chance to talk alone, they both figure out that they have the secret to tell. Their dad has fallen in love with Taylor. At the shrink's office, she says that she is happy with her life. Deacon says that him getting a therapist is not going to fix his marriage problems or make him feel differently about her. Soon as he leaves, Sheila bursts in. She tells Taylor that she needs her help. Time is wasting. In the showroom, Daphne tells Carter that he is not the person to ask her to marry him. She has never said yes to anyone before. Daphne agrees to marry Carter. He says he has had a lot of problems with women. That is an understatement. Now that he has found the one, he wants to be with her all the time. If she is going to Paris, he is going to Paris with her. She is really touched by this. She agrees to marry him. Then the couple goes to his apartment. There is a candle burning in his apartment. The candle smells like jasmine. This is the scent that Daphne was wearing the day Carter met her. He tells her that he has never felt this way about any woman. The one is really special to him. He wants her to know that. I am really sorry to Zoe and Paris and Quinn and Hope. I feel bad because I know I am forgetting some people. Finn gets himself into trouble with Steffi. In the part of the show, Carter and Daphne get together and it is very romantic. They have a song playing. I think Daphne is a person and Carter should be careful not to mess things up with her. At the Cliff house, Finn says that he wanted to have an afternoon. The man says to the first of ordinary days and raises his glass to his wife. This is not an idea because it is like he is asking for bad things to happen to them. I just know this. Steffi is thinking about how Finn takes care of her. At the time, Deke and Hope are talking about Taylor and Deacon. Steffi is also worried that Sheila will lose her temper. Sheila is in Taylor's office. She is very upset. She wishes her stepchildren could forget about all the things she has done in the past. Sheila is really struggling with this. The Bold and the Beautiful characters, like Steffi and Sheila, are going through a lot. She risked her life to save Steffi. Wasn't that enough? Delusional Sheila expresses her hope that someday Deke and Hope will come to love her. Tall order. Sheesh. Taylor worked a miracle before, so can't she again? Sheila demands. Deacon is my whole world. I refuse to let anyone come between us. Cue Taylor's scared look. Daphne said yes to Carter's proposal. They spent the night together. Meanwhile, Sheila was really upset. She asked Taylor for help. Carter asked Daphne to marry him and Steffi asked Hope to help keep her parents from getting together. Steffi went to the beach house. She could not stop thinking about what her mom was going through. She started talking to Finn about it. He was not wearing a shirt. Steffi thought her mom was okay. Now she thinks her mom has feelings for Deacon. Finn looked really confused. He did not understand what was going on with Daphne and her mom and Deacon. Steffi's mom and Deacon. This was all very strange. To Finn. Daphne and Carter are happy. Steffi's mom and Deacon are a big problem. His wife gets really scared that his biological mother will find out about what's going on and then she will go after her own mother. He tells her that he can talk to Deacon about how bad this situation's, but she thinks that his family will be able to get through to him. She says thank you to him for making her feel better. He says that he wants to celebrate the fact that they love each other. They kiss. He gets out some champagne so they can celebrate the fact that they're married. They drink a toast to having days that are full of love and where they can feel safe. Steffi thinks that he is a great person. She remembers that Deacon has always been her protector and they had a connection from the start. In Taylor's office, Deacon tells her that he will be happy if he can keep seeing Taylor. The question is Taylor happy with this or does Taylor want more from Deacon? Taylor says that she is satisfied with what she has with Deacon for now. Her daughter overheard Taylor and Deacon talking. Her daughter is very concerned about Taylor. Deacon says that if he stops seeing Taylor it will not change the way Deacon feels about Taylor and the way Taylor feels about Deacon. Hope finds Deacon at Illinois Giardino. Notices that Deacon is working on some new designs for Deacon's work. He says he had an interesting talk with their dad. Then Sheila shows up. Asks the kids for their help. She says it would mean a lot to their dad if they could make her feel like part of the family. She tells them that she really cares about Deacon and he feels the way about her. When Sheila goes back to work, the kids start talking about their dad and Taylor. The kids hope that this will make their dad realize that his marriage is not working out. They want their dad to wake up and see what is really going on with Taylor. Sheila walks into Taylor's office, suddenly stopping her from thinking about Deacon. Sheila tells Taylor that she needs her help with something. Taylor does not feel like talking to Sheila about Deacon now. Sheila starts talking about how Hope and Deacon not listening to her. Sheila says that Deacon loves her much and this love has changed her life. She even put her life in danger to show how much she cares about Deacon. Sheila does not want to be from Deacon's family. She thinks that Taylor can help her get closer to them. Deacon is the important person in Sheila's life. She does not want anyone to get in the way of her relationship with Deacon. Then Deacon asks Sheila to marry him. This is not the time Daphne has been proposed to. Carter thinks he is worthy of Daphne. He says he was really wanting to find the one he loves before. Now Carter has found Daphne and Daphne is leaving. Carter will do anything for Daphne. He will even go to the moon with Daphne to show Daphne how much Carter loves Daphne. Daphne. Carter and Daphne kiss. Carter puts the ring on Daphne's finger. Carter and Daphne laugh. Carter and Daphne go to Carter's room. Daphne is really impressed by the jasmine-scented candles that Carter has. Carter tells Daphne that Daphne is a sophisticated person. He says she has guided him with her words, warmth, and scent. He's never felt this way about a woman. They love each other and kiss. They undress and climb into bed for sex. Carter stood firm in the doorway of the garret, the weight of Hope's answer still ringing in his cognizance like a bell that refused to stop tolling. His heart pounding so loudly he was certain everyone in the room could hear it. Because Hope hadn't said yes, but she hadn't said no moreover, and that in-between space felt more dangerous than outright rejection. Her eyes shimmering with conflict as she admitted she loved him but wasn't sure she was ready to promise ever when her own heart was still visited by Liam, by Thomas, by every broken oath she'd ever survived, and Carter, who had walked into that moment believing he was about to secure the future he'd pictured of, suddenly realized he was standing on emotional mesh. Yet indeed in that query he reached for her hands, gently, appreciatively, telling her he'd stay, that love was a deadline, that he wanted her when she was sure, not when she felt cornered, and Hope's breath caught because no bone had ever given her tolerance rather of pressure, but as tender as that exchange was, it was in a world formerly pulsing under other storms, because across city, in the dim gleam of Illinois Giardino's after-hours lighting, Sheila Carter leaned forward across Deacon's empty table, her voice low and fierce as she faced Taylor Hayes, who had come not as a psychiatrist but as a mama hopeless to cover her children from the woman she believed embodied peril itself, and Sheila's eyes burned with commodity that wasn't madness but devotion as she pledged that no bone, not Ridge, not Brooke, not Steffi, not indeed Taylor herself, would separate her from Deacon, because he was the first man who saw her not as a monster but as a woman good of love, and Taylor, who had spent time studying the mortal mind, saw commodity chillingly sincere in Sheila's protestation, realizing in that moment that this was a fling that could be spooked down but in preoccupation fortified by redemption, and when Taylor advised her that Cleric would ultimately see through her, that history always repeated itself, Sheila simply smiled and said history only repeats when people refuse to change, and she had changed, for him, and if anyone tried to tear them piecemeal, they'd learn just how far a woman would go to cover the man who saved her soul. Words that transferred a shiver through Taylor because they were enter trouble screamed in rage but a pledge rumored in faith, and while those two women goggled each other down, away in the megacity Steffi paced her living room, fury radiating from her as she reported to Finn how she had seen Sheila and Deacon together, laughing, holding hands, erecting a life, and Finn tried to calm her, reminding her that his mama hadn't harmed anyone since returning, that perhaps love had softened her, but Steffi snapped that monsters didn't transfigure overnight, that every time Sheila sounded inoffensive it was simply the quiet before catastrophe, and Finn, torn between blood and belief, felt that familiar fracture widening inside him, because no matter how important he loved Steffi, a part of him still endured to believe his mama could be better, and that internal battle imaged Carter's, because after leaving Hope's garret, he commended in Katie, admitting that he'd poured his heart out and ended up suspended in limbo, and Katie, who had lived a continuance of romantic whiplash, told him that query wasn't failure, that occasionally love needed standing still while another soul caught up, but she also advised him not to lose himself staying, because a man who erected his identity around another person risked getting unnoticeable to himself, advice that echoed as Carter returned to his apartment, gaping at the ring box still open on his office, its diamond flashing like a question mark, and he wondered whether devotion was frippery or idiocy, whether he was proving his strength or delaying ineluctable heartache. While at Forrester Creations, Ridge and Brooke disaccorded over the Sheila-Deacon alliance. Ridge induced it was a ticking time lemon, Brooke torn between fear and stopgap because she flashed back being written off as irredeemable formally too, and that memory visited her as she imagined a world where Sheila truly had changed, because if that were possible, it meant redemption was real for everyone, and yet every instinct screamed that this story would end gently, and sure enough, Cleric himself felt that storm brewing as he closed the eatery for the night, locking the doors behind him and chancing Sheila staying, her eyes lighting up when she saw him, her arms belting around him like an anchor, and he told her about Taylor's visit, about the warning, about the way the city was circling them like harpies, and Sheila heeded still before telling him that love was always a battle, that people only stressed what they couldn't control, and that they would prove everyone wrong together. And Deacon, who had spent his life being the exemplary tale, felt commodity dangerously close to fortune in her words, indeed as a voice deep outside rumored that loving Sheila meant inviting chaos, but he silenced it, because for the first time he didn't want to run from the fire, and as these lives intertwined under moonlight and mistrustfulness, Hope lay awake in her garret, replaying Carter's offer, his tolerance, his pledge to stay, and she realized that what scarified her wasn't commitment but the possibility of choosing wrong again, of hurting someone good because she still carried ghosts, and she wondered whether love was supposed to feel safe or whether safety itself was an vision, because every heart she'd ever trusted had shattered at least formally, and across the megacity, Taylor replayed Sheila's oath, understanding with clinical clarity that this was no end love but a fort erected on preoccupation, and she resolved that no matter the cost, she'd cover her children. Indeed, if it meant provoking the veritably peril she stressed, ignorant that in doing so she might enkindle the fuse Sheila had sworn she'd no way light unless forced, and in that fragile space between intention and consequence, fate began tensing its grip, drawing Carter toward a unborn defined by tolerance, Hope toward a decision that could reshape her life, and Sheila toward a battleground she was induced she could eventually win, because in this city love was no way just love. It was influence, it was war, it was fortune, and every pledge carried the shadow of a trouble, every oath the echo of a possible treason, and as dawn crept across Los Angeles, illuminating secrets still implied, each of them stood on the edge of change, ignorant that by evening, hearts would break, alliances would shift, and the line between redemption and ruin would blur beyond recognition. The morning unfolded like a held breath eventually released, yet none of them felt relief as sun filtered through glass and mistrustfulness, because Carter arrived at Forrester Creations carrying further than legal missions. He carried the quiet pang of staying, and every corridor he walked sounded to brute Hope's name, reminding him that love was now suspended between pledge and pause, and when he crossed paths with Ridge, who clapped him on the shoulder and joked about marriage. Bells in the air. Carter forced a smile that felt like espoused confidence, because how could he explain that the woman he loved hadn't rejected him but hadn't embraced ever moreover, that he was standing in the doorway of fortune while the door remained unrestricted, and across City Hope dressed for work, gaping at her reflection, seeing not a confident developer but a woman sutured together by once dolor, wondering why Carter's kindness felt heavier than any claim, because it needed her to be stalwart, to defy the verity that sweat had been steering her life, and as she stepped into her day, ignorant that every choice she made would ripple outward, Sheila woke beside Deacon, tracing the lines of his face as he slept, marveling at how peaceful he looked, as though the world had eventually loosened its grip on him, and she rumored to him that she'd cover this, cover him, cover their chance, not realizing that love declared in secretiveness frequently demanded evidence in public, and when Deacon opened his eyes and smiled at her, she felt insurmountable, certain that no judgment could pierce what they had erected, while Taylor met Steffi for coffee, precisely choosing her words, revealing Sheila's oath, and Steffi's blood ran cold as she imagined that woman staking claim not just to Deacon but to a future that could place her dangerously close to their lives, and Steffi pledged that she'd no way allow her children to be risked, indeed. If it meant defying Sheila herself, indeed if it meant getting the villain in someone differentless redemption story, and Finn watched his woman. Helical, torn between empathy and fidelity, because the man he'd come was forged by choosing Steffi, yet the boy he'd been still sustained for a mama who could be proud, and that fracture strengthened when he saw Sheila's name flash across his phone, unanswered, like a ghost knocking on a locked door, and at Forrester, hope set up Carter in the design room, his presence grounding yet unsettling, because every regard between them carried the weight of implied futures, and when he asked gently if she had slept, she jounced, unfit to admit that she had spent the night rehearsing courage, and she told him she appreciated his tolerance, that it meant further than he knew, and Carter replied that love wasn't a timepiece, it was a compass, and he'd follow it wherever it led, indeed if the path twisted, and hope felt gashes soak because no bone had ever loved her without demanding she be someone differently first, and yet that chastity scarified her further than chaos ever had, because chaos was familiar, while peace felt fragile, as though one wrong move could shatter it, and as they parted, neither realizing they were being watched by eyes that saw their query as occasion, away Sheila arrived at Illinois Giardino with a resoluteness stoned by Taylor's warning, and when Brooke appeared, drawn by concern for Deacon, Sheila saluted her with surprising warmth, telling her she knew Brooke misdoubted her, that everyone did, but that she intended to earn trust through action, not justifications, and Brooke, caught between dubitation and empathy, saw a woman trying, authentically trying, and that recognition unsettled her, because if Sheila could change, also remission might be a moral obligation, and yet history screamed else, and Deacon watched this exchange with pride, believing that love had formally begun rewriting reports, ignorant that metamorphosis under a microscope came a performance judged by insolvable norms, and when Steffi stormed in moments latterly, fire in her eyes, criminating Sheila of manipulation, of using cleric as disguise, the eatery fell silent, and Sheila didn't lash out, didn't raise her voice, she simply stood and said she'd not be bullied into fading, that she loved Deacon, that she was erecting a life, not a scheme, and Steffi declared that schemes were what Sheila did stylish, that innocent lives always paid the price of her reinvention, and Deacon stepped between them, choosing Sheila, telling Steffi that people could change, that he had, that redemption was real, and Steffi left shaking, induced that the trap had formally closed, while Sheila exhaled, her calm cracking only after the door shut, and she clumsily realized that every ounce of restraint she had shown would be tested again and again, because redemption invited scrutiny, and scrutiny bred adversaries, and adversaries, she knew, no way played fair, and that night Carter sat alone, gaping at his phone, fighting the appetite to textbook hope, because he'd promised not to press her, and he wondered whether restraint was strength or tone erasure, and in another garret, Hope eventually admitted to Brooke that Carter had proposed, that she hadn't answered, and Brooke heeded, heart aching, understanding her son's fear, but prompting her not to let the once mandate the future, reminding her that love shouldn't be penalized for the sins of former suckers, and Hope wept, confessing that she didn't trust her own judgment presently, that every choice felt like a adventure, and Brooke held her, bruiting that faith was always a adventure, that the heart no way offered guarantees, only chances, and as Mama and son clung to one another, the megacity palpitated with clustering intentions, because Taylor resolved